In 2006, during the war, the U.S. Army establishes outposts in northern Afghanistan to fight insurgency and hopefully connect with the locals so they drop their weapons. One of these outposts is PRT Kamdish, located in a remote valley surrounded by mountains. This isolation caused the outpost to be seen as a death trap. One night, a new team of soldiers is transferred to Kamdish. They're not happy about it, but they still hit it off with the soldiers already there. Under one of the bunker beds, they notice the words, "It doesn't get better." The next morning, the new men stare at their surroundings while the other soldiers explain how the insurgents used the mountains for surprise attacks. Suddenly they find a dog and Zahid gets ready to shoot it, but Skusa immediately stops him because he rescued the dog to keep it as a pet. At that moment, insurgents open fire from the mountains. The soldiers immediately run for cover as they fire back, trying to avoid the explosions that start going off in the outpost. Since they were taken by surprise, they start running out of bullets soon, so Carter is sent out with more. However, he was given the wrong ammo, and after some arguing, Carter has to run back. The soldiers keep on shooting and fire a mortar to destroy their target, quickly earning them a victory. Afterward, Gallegos kicks down Yunger and insults him for firing too close to his head. Then Carter comes back with the right ammo and gets scolded for arguing during a battle. Nearby, the soldiers discover a man has lost part of his face and they yell for a medic. Sometime later, the soldiers get a call explaining their wounded friend got out of surgery okay and he'll rejoin them soon. Meanwhile, Captain Keating scolds a young soldier because he was found smoking Mary Jane. Knowing not to cut payment because it doesn't mean much here, Keating busts him down to private and cuts off his free time. The next day, Keating announces they need to improve their relationship with the locals and arranges a shura, which is a type of Muslim council used to discuss important affairs. Sometime later, the soldiers arrive at the shura building to meet with the village elders. Even though the locals are armed, Keating leaves his weapons and protection outside to prove he comes in peace. With Muhammad as their interpreter, Keating explains to the elders that he wants to separate the civilians from the Taliban to keep them protected. He also offers money and contracts. At that moment, another soldier finishes a gunshot residue test that proves one of the guards was part of yesterday's attack. Keating says he must report this, which will cause him to lose honor with his own elders. After lots of arguing, the elders make their entire group put down their weapons and Keating shares a hug with the leader. That night, the soldiers grill some meat, drink, share some stories from home, and dance to some music to celebrate. The following day, the insurgents open fire from the mountains again and the soldiers quickly run for cover. They start shooting back, but this time the fight doesn't last long. Sometime later, Hart drags Yunger out of his room, yelling at him because Yunger stole a picture of his wife to have some private time with his own hand. Hart makes Yunger do push-ups while apologizing to the photograph, yet Yunger kisses it anyway. Meanwhile, Keating receives orders to move a large tactical vehicle to Narai. The others point out the potential dangers since the roads are too narrow, but Keating reminds them orders are orders. He even volunteers to drive the vehicle. For the next few hours, a small truck guides the tactical vehicle through the dangerous paths around the mountain. The vehicle is still too big and its tires often slip down the edge a little. By nighttime, they have to stop when they detect something ahead, but when they take a closer look, they discover it's just a dead chicken. The truck keeps going and almost pushes Carter off the road, but Romshaw catches him just in time. When the tactical vehicle tries to advance too, it ends up falling off the edge and exploding, killing Keating and the other soldiers inside. As soon as they return to the outpost, the fallen soldiers are given a proper funeral. Sometime later, Aleskas arrives to be the new captain of the outpost and the soldiers show him around while telling him about all the issues with the mountain attacks. Suddenly something explodes on the ground and once again some insurgents start firing from the mountains. One of the soldiers was in the shower and has to help his friends while naked. After the attack is over, Aleskas sends a team on patrol. The group obeys but keeps on complaining about it during their walk, thinking it's pointless. Romshaw uses the chance to teach the others how an actual good assault would take advantage of the outpost's weak spots and destroy their supply buildings plus the generators. A few days later, Kirk discovers a local taking pictures of the area and starts chasing after him. The man almost escapes but bumps into another soldier and falls, giving Kirk time to capture him. After the team finds his phone and the photos, the man is cuffed and Thompson keeps guard while explaining the sad family story behind the scars on his arm. Another shura is organized, and this time only half the elders show up. The old men complain because they haven't received the money Keating promised, but Aleskas tells them he'll only pay after an investigation is done behind the pictures in the phone. In the evening, Muhammad comes back from the village saying that the Taliban are getting ready for a large-scale attack because the villagers aren't happy over the lack of money. However, his warnings aren't taken seriously because he cries wolf every day. Later, Aleskas takes a team on another patrol. Muhammad keeps an ear on the radio to pick up any enemy talk, but he claims he can't understand certain dialects. When they make it to a bridge, Kirk and Carter cross first to make sure it's safe. Then Aleskas crosses with Yunger just to be hit by an explosion in the middle of the bridge. Yunger saves himself, but Aleskas falls dead in the water. Blood lands on Yunger's face and mouth, leaving him in shock. That night, the soldiers try to deal with their grief with some music. Romshaw hears a noise and goes to investigate, only to find Aleskas trembling and mumbling to himself with a weapon in hand. While offering calming words, Romshaw slowly removes the bullets from the weapon, then shares how he had to watch a close friend die because of a sniper. However, it's clear that the trauma has left Yunger in a bad mental state, so when a helicopter comes by to pick Alaska's body, Yunger leaves as well. The chopper also brings the new leader Broward, who announces the outpost will be closed in July and tells the soldiers to concentrate on closing shop until then. The next day, the soldiers give Broward an Afghan ID they found near the bridge. They believe he is one of the workers from the hydroelectric plant, so they want to start searching the villages. Broward forbids it because it goes against the rules of engagement and reminds them to leave this for the investigating officer. All of Ramesh's protests are ignored. Time passes while the soldiers do their best to stick to routine. Soon another attack from the mountain starts, and while the others fire back, Ramesha calls Broward for backup. However, Broward asks for a positive weapon identification first. Skusa uses his binoculars to confirm it, and a bunch of soldiers go out to help. After the attack is over, Broward talks about the rules of engagement again, pointing out they can't just shoot someone for acting suspicious, and radio or weapon identification always comes first. Ramesha tries protesting again since they clearly were under fire, but Broward doesn't want to waste any more ammo or make the relationship with the locals worse. In the end, Broward announces that since they're under pressure from the Afghan president, they won't leave in July. The soldiers will get a $1,000 raise, and if they're lucky, they'll leave in October. The group obeys, but dislikes Broward more every day, especially since he pees in bottles in his room and makes the soldiers take them out. Later during lunch, Carter approaches Bunderman to share the troops' dislike of Broward. The man only leaves his office to poop, and all his rules clearly show he's scared, so it's hard for the group to take him seriously. However, Bunderman explains Broward has been in more battles than all of them and their duty is to obey. Soon it starts raining, and Carter shivers in the cold while keeping guard and chatting with Gallegos on the radio about religion. That night, some movement is seen on the mountains, and suddenly an explosion happens in the distance. Broward allows the soldiers to shoot a mortar back as a warning and calls the wrong coordinates, but the team corrects him just in time and the mortar is fired without issues. In the morning, they have a meeting to analyze the situation. If the insurgents were moving the mortars on foot that late, it means now they have night vision too, but they can't guess where these weapons came from. The meeting is interrupted by the arrival of the elders, who have brought a dead girl and accuse the Americans of doing it. The soldiers can tell the girl has been dead for days and the Taliban killed her on purpose to trick them, but Broward will pay them anyway to avoid trouble. The elder also reveals he knows the Americans are leaving, which was supposed to be classified information. Suddenly an elder yells in pain because the dog bit him, although it's unclear if he provoked the animal on purpose. Muhammad explains that getting bitten by a dog is extremely shameful in their culture, and the elders demand retribution. Without hesitation, Broward kills the dog with a shot before scolding Skusa for keeping a pet during war. Sometime later, the soldiers have fun by testing who can last longer in a waterboarding situation. They're interrupted by Broward, who announces he's been relieved of duty and a new captain will arrive in a couple of weeks. He also confirms they're officially closing this outpost, and October 6th, Bunderman is left in charge until the new captain comes, and he tells the others they're still allowed to talk to their families, but they can't tell them about October to avoid the information reaching the enemy. Everyone rushes to call their loved ones and get emotional when they hear news from home. Early in the morning on October 3, 2009, Muhammad comes running into the outpost, saying all the villagers are gone and that hundreds of Taliban are surrounding their base. Once again, he isn't taken seriously, but when they look at the mountains with binoculars, they confirm he's saying the truth. Explosives start going off on their camp, and the soldiers rush out of their beds to join the defense team. A firefight begins while the insurgents run down the mountain, and a soldier almost gets hit in the head, but his helmet saves him. Bunderman runs to the comms room and falls when an explosion goes off behind him. The cameras show that the insurgents have surrounded the entire outpost and no spot is safe. Soon Bunderman is yelling on the radio demanding help, but an airstrike will only arrive in 2 hours. Thompson gears up and runs out to help, only to be killed on the spot. The other soldiers move around to reach the long range weapons and the vehicles for cover, always keeping the fire going. Soon they're running low on ammo, so Carter rushes into the supply room to get more. It's taking too long though, so various soldiers start hiding inside the different trucks. Meanwhile, Ramesha runs around the base, giving out orders and shooting back at any enemy he sees on the mountain. Kirk hides inside a building to change weapons and quickly comes out to attack. However, an explosion brings him down and a shot knocks him out, so his friends drag the body back inside. It's clear that the outpost is losing the battle, and a desperate Zahid runs to see Bunderman, begging for air support and explaining his men can't fight anymore without ammo. A furious Bunderman tells Zahid to do what he can for now and pushes him out of the building. In the infirmary, the few doctors they have area already busy with patients and can't go out to help the fighters. A soldier volunteers to retrieve Kirk and crosses the outpost as he continues to dodge shots and explosions, falling a few times in the process. Eventually, he reaches the building, and with the help of the others, they put Kirk on a stretcher and begin carrying him toward the infirmary while running from the heavy fire. In the supply room, there's a great lack of organization because everyone wants to take ammo to every corner of the base. Skusa is given ammo for the group stuck in the vehicle, however he's shot down as soon as he leaves the building. Other soldiers throw gas grenades for cover and take his body to the doctors too. Unfortunately, Skusa is dead by the time they make it to the infirmary. Kirk is hanging in there, but his pulse is weak. Carter grabs as much ammo as he can carry and begins to run through the base, always taking cover before an explosion can hit him. Eventually, he makes it to one of the vehicles and another soldier jumps in with him as they share out the ammo. Romsha continues to sneak around the outpost, making use of any weapon he can find on the way. A grenade explodes near him and he jumps to dodge, but his arm is wounded anyway. He uses his radio to apologize to the soldiers in the trucks since he doubts he'll reach them soon. Afterward, Romsha enters a building and makes a new plan of attack with other soldiers. Then he goes to the infirmary to check on Kirk, but he's already dead. Furious, Romsha grabs a weapon and runs out to find a spot where he can shoot the enemy sniper, finally killing him. The firefight continues as explosions keep going off all over the place. Hart takes ammo to another group in a truck, but when they try to take off, the car gets stuck on a bump. At that moment, they discover the Taliban has breached the perimeter, so the group leaves the vehicle to fight them, but Hart quickly gets shot down and soon the others are killed as well. Only one guy survives, and he runs to inform Romsha, who together with Zahid shoot at any enemy walking nearby. Soon they're informed that the enemy is breaking through multiple points on the base. In the comms room, Bunderman gets a call saying reinforcements are close. The plan for now is to dig in and hold on as long as they can, but Romsha comes in and says they should retake the base. He explains there's still plenty of ammo in the supply room, so his plan is to grab it and block the main gate. As an explosion hits the comms building, Bunderman gives Romsha permission to go for it. He also cuts all the comms in case the enemy has their radios, and now the group stuck in trucks have no updates on the situation. Tired of waiting, the group with Gallegos and Carter decides to act. They get off the truck and run as fast as they can while Carter provides cover, but soon Gallegos is down and Carter hides inside the truck again with another soldier. At that moment he sees a man crawling as he bleeds out and wants to help him. At first his partner stops him, but eventually he agrees to provide cover. Carter goes out and quickly reaches the wounded soldier, securing his leg before picking him up. In one quick run, they make it back to the truck. After gathering some volunteers, Romsha sneaks around the camp and ignores Bunderman when he tells him to wait for a machine gun. The group begins shooting at all the enemies getting into their base and even keep moving even if there's too much smoke in the area. After killing tons and tons of insurgents, they make it to the front gate and Romsha secures a room. When he's about to start shooting the men on the mountain, a bomb falls from the sky, announcing the arrival of air support. With the helicopters and bombers killing dozens of enemies by the second, Carter dares to leave the truck again. He keeps on shooting while picking up a radio to confirm that the airstrike is on their side. Then he runs back to the vehicle and the group uses the radio to call Bunderman, who explains a big bomb will drop soon so they need to get out of there on their own. Carter and his partner put the wounded soldier on a stretcher and run as fast as they can. Thankfully they make it to the infirmary just in time and the doctor has no choice but to use his own blood for the transfusions. Soon all the survivors are donating to help their wounded friends. By the time the new captain arrives with reinforcements, most of the base has been destroyed by the bombing. There are still a few insurgents around, so they search the mountain area to stop them. At the outpost, the survivors search every corner too to gather the bodies and find Muhammad hiding in a cabinet ready to say, "I told you so." When the new captain enters the base, Bunderman reports their losses in tears. The captain commends him for his leadership and announces tomorrow they'll blow up the outpost before leaving. That night the few survivors gather around and share one last song to say goodbye before the helicopters take them away. As they fly off, they watch the explosion that finishes destroying the outpost, although they're sad to hear the man Carter saved didn't make it. All of them get stars for their work while Carter and Romsha get medals of honor, becoming the most decorated unit of the war. 3 days later at a new base, the soldiers get to call their loved ones. Carter sees a psychologist and has a PTSD-induced breakdown that makes it hard to breathe, so the psychologist helps him calm down. Eventually, an investigation blames the Battle of Kamdesh on faulty leadership that failed to improve the base's defenses. This caused all obviously indefensible outposts to be closed. This battle was the first in 50 years to give medals of honor to living men.